We are starting the second part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's about your life 2000 years ago, your life in the first century,
Mm-hmm.
and under the name of Cornelius.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your soul name. Well, you claim to be Cornelius. It's hard to believe, even if intellectually I say, well, it's why not?
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to believe. But I like to know a bit more about who is Cornelius, what you remember who you are from the first century. Can you share that a bit with us?
Yeah, like chronologically, or
Yes, yes, yeah.
I remember from Sicily. I was born in Sicily, the little island bottom of Italy there. Had a mother and father, and two older sisters as well. And we just lived in a little. Well, I remember it was just like a little stone or mud sort of building of some sort. And just grew up there, just played around. Don't know where mum and dad went to during the daytime. They did something, I suppose, like as a little kid, you don't know what your mum and dad do for work. They kind of, dad would disappear longer and mum would sort of be coming home a bit earlier. But used to play with my sisters, really. I think they look after me. And then, then one evening, some Roman soldiers come to our place and pushed the door open pretty much, and Dad answered the door and they pushed him against the door, and three of them held him back, and I was scared because I didn't know what was going on, and they came and grabbed me and took me, and then they took me to a military camp in Sicily, a Roman military camp, and I didn't know why. I thought I'd done something wrong and stuff like that, and I thought mum and dad would come and get me, and it was, pretty not nice to me at all, but and my dad was a very big man. He's like really big for that sort of era. He's 6 foot something or other, which is unusual. I found out later that he come and tried to get me out of that camp. He tried to. He was a sort of like a man with strong integrity, and there's just no way like some Roman's gonna steal my son sort of thing. So. I didn't know about this, but I found out that he tried to get into the camp, tried to break into it, and they killed him, trying to get in. Yeah, so I didn't know about that, but that's the sort of man he was. And that's why they chose me. I didn't know why that whole decision was, but found out a lot later, I guess. Probably found that out in the spirit world, I think, that why that choice was made, why the Romans took me, is because of him. Not him, because of his traits, his character, his size and everything. I would be good breeding stock for them. So, I would have turned into like a tall, strong sort of person, like hard-willed, I suppose, or strong-willed. Like if they could turn me into their direction, then I'd be a fighting machine for them, really. And that's what all the kids. There's lots of other kids there too, like at all different ages as well, and adults as well, and men. It's a really horrible place, and I always thought, you just hang on as a kid crying. I was always crying, I was terrified that mum and dad would come and get me out. They come get me out, but that never happened. And
how old were you?
About 5. Yeah.
And you were, your siblings were your older sister?
A bit older, yeah.
Both older than you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
And why they don't get your older brother?
I didn't have an older brother.
Just sisters.
Just 2 sisters. Yeah. I feel it was my uncle's. Sorry, my mum's brother, who pretty much put the Roman soldiers onto this for some money. He got money for like a finder's fee sort of thing. And he's kind of. I never liked him. When you have as a kid, you feel someone's just bad. He was like that. I have a funny feeling that I don't know what he did now that my dad was dead to my mum, but she didn't want my father to go and get me out, I'm pretty sure, because that would mean put her into a situation which she did get put into because he died. Now I think my uncle sort of don't know what he did. She almost become a slave to him, really. I have a funny feeling we were renting the place off him anyway, or something like that anyway, but well, that's whatever. Yeah, so I was in the camp for a long time there until I was in for years, for a long time. No one ever came. I gave up hope eventually. was always hoping mum and dad would come and you hang on to that, hang on to that, hang on to that. You have faith, I suppose, that someone's going to come and get you out until one day you just have to give up. I didn't like that at all.
Where was it school? What did you do in these camps?
In the camps, learn how to be a soldier. That's pretty much, it's just training all the time. They pretty much, the whole reason I couldn't understand until, if I look back at Roman history, why that happened then, is because of the height of the Roman Empire expanding, so they had to get more and more and more military people. And so they often take them at a young age like that, and then train them how they want to train them, and you lose, pretty much it's, like I was saying, it's similar to how the earth is these days. Things haven't changed a lot, and that's how they do it these days, is pretty much with soldiers, they tune them emotionally. They become pretty much a killing machine. They feel like they don't feel. They shut their feelings down a lot. Yeah. And yes, I was in that camp for quite a long time, until all of my life really, until we moved out. But we ended up killing it. I think they tried to make me, do the things I wanted to. I wouldn't do them, and they punished me, hurt me, and stuff like that till I'd do those things. And eventually, till I come to a point where I'd had enough. I think it was probably about 10, I think it was, around then. And I just wouldn't fight, wouldn't do what they wanted me to do. And then one, there's just, I remember there's a really nasty man. There's also a nasty teenage sort of kid as well. I think they just become nasty. They become like the nasty people so they don't get hurt. And he used to always be at me too, the young kid. And I ended up just snapping one day and went out of body, of course, and just ended up killing him. And that, I was devastated by that, what happened. So, and I lost all of who I was really. And now I became one of them, became a killer, and just felt like the soul just...
10 years?
Huh?
Sorry, at 10 years?
Yeah. And that's exactly what they wanted. They wanted to see that in me, because they pretty much won. Then they had me. Yeah, and I just become reluctantly one of them. And pretty much I stopped all the attention that was getting towards me that was violence stopped then, because now I became one of them and they accepted me. Yeah, so that's typical life in a Roman camp like that. There's lots of other boys with situations like that. There's lots of other ones that didn't want to fight too. Didn't want to be that. Yeah, so I got out of there. I can't remember much more of the campaigns. It's just, I guess I was a bit out of body from that point onwards, and and lost who I was.
Scary.
Yeah.
Scared.
Yeah, so I went on different campaigns everywhere. And then fast forward it to like coming back to Judea, to Jerusalem. We come back there for political reasons, and that's when I first come across Jesus. And he was just talking and stuff like that, and I started making me remember things about who I was, my true nature, my character, and how God made me, not how these people turned me into something, and could feel a love coming from the guy. So it was just very, very, very different for those times. Not any time, I suppose. Yeah.
Did you have a relationship with God? Did you were believing in God?
No. When you're that, I think a lot of people that end up in abusive places like that, or sort of they suffer a lot of life abuse, they end up just not believing there's a God. Yeah. So it's a little bit about it anyway, from what I can remember so far.
Yeah.
There's a lot more details, but
yeah.
Yeah.
How do you know to be Cornelius? And Cornelius is, Cornelius the Centurion. Do you have memory of as a centurion?
Only in the later part of my life, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody identifies me as Cornelius as Centurion, but it's almost like as a disgrace in some way to me, as in it's not a nice thing to be. It's like Cornelius the killer, it feels like. It's just what something created me to be. It wasn't me. It's just a label that Rome put on me. But what was your question?
How do you remember to be Cornelius?
Okay, so fast forward to now, like.
Well, no. How do you remember that you were Cornelius the Centurion? But I say Cornelius the Centurion, but actually Cornelius was just your name as a boy, as a baby.
Yeah, that's when my first earthly parents called me. Yeah. I don't remember the family name we had though.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think as a kid you really know your family name when you're that young. You
Mm.
might do, I don't know, but I didn't.
Did you make a connection between Cornelius the Centurion and the historical person that I think it's mentioned in the Bible or something? I don't know.
I was a crappy Catholic, as you know. And so I didn't even know this. You remember I was telling you, I didn't even know there's two parts to the Bible until I was about 30. And I didn't even know there's lots of books of the Bible either, until about 5 years ago. So. I didn't even know Cornelius of the Bible anyway, so yeah.
So you didn't even know about that. Did you read it? No?
No.
What's about Cornelius?
I was never a reader of the Bible, no.
No.
I don't think ever at church, if they ever mentioned, I didn't take any notice of it, so.
So basically for you, it's just your life. It's all the rest the people make of who is Cornelius that does not interest you very much. Just like
I did look it up, of course. You kind of get interested in what is there anything in history about them, so you look it up and stuff like that, and there's very, very little. A lot of it's not really true as well. Yeah.
Okay.
And my dad now went to church once, and I was just went down to stay with them. And they nicked off to go to church and come back and said, "Oh, the priest was talking about you today." And I'd met the priest up at the shops that day earlier with them, and I thought, "What was he talking about me for?" Like he said, "I'm talking about you. He's talking about you as Cornelius." And I go, "Huh? What?" That's when I found out it was in the Bible. He showed me. Yeah, and then I knew before that, but I'd never read anything. But and he read out something from the Bible that there's something about the Jews loved him being the first Gentile, or whatever it was. And I just said, "Hey, that's not true. They hated me. I hated anything that was Roman." Yeah, I don't know why they write that in the Bible for. It's not true.
Okay. Did you get to talk to the preacher? No. How do you know you are not in crazy or in delusion or I don't know, influenced by spirit? Or I don't know, all this.
Well, that's kind of
question. Yeah, how do we know?
When I first came across it, I was kind of and angry about it. I was kind of hoping that was the case. Like in some way, I thought maybe it's just something else. I looked at all the different avenues the way it could be, which is good because I started learning about, before even then, learning about spirits and learning about influences, and I got to be around people who reckon they're reincarnated and stuff like that, and I'd be looking at their lives and thinking, and they're just trying to avoid something emotional. You can start to see that in their lives too. It's just a way of them trying to deal with pain.
You talking about the other 14?
Oh no, I didn't even know any of them.
Oh, okay.
This is when I started just learning about New Age, like seeing the New Age circle of people, and just started hanging around with them. So I was afraid of anything to do with like death or spirits or anything about afterlife. So I was terrified of death anyway. By the way, there's panic attacks about it. But as I started to learn about these New Age people talked about spirits and spirituality, I thought, maybe there's something to it. So I started learning about that, and that gave me some sort of ease of my fear about there is actually life after death. Perhaps it gave me maybe my feelings aren't true and stuff like that, and about death. And so that I started just discovering a bit more about spirits, and they can communicate with them, and they're just people that have been on Earth before that have died. And so I wondered, like, is this just someone around me that's been, why is this soldier person? What's this all about? Like, with, have I got to have any military people around me in my life and stuff like that? Have I ever wanted to be in the military? Have I ever is a real passion for it and stuff like that? And I thought, no, I don't like it at all. And so I was thinking, so what's the attraction? Like, if it's a spirit, why is a spirit attracted to me? If it's a spirit called Cornelius or whatever. And yeah, there's nothing that was made any sense. So I thought, it's weird, so I can't write that one off. Looked at them, and am I crazy? Do I want to get away from myself? And thought, well, no, I really, up until this point, I've pretty much was always looking for emotional things inside myself. So I used to notice that most people that were looking at reincarnation as a way of avoiding themselves, usually. And so I thought, no, I'm not down that line either. So I was just trying to process of elimination, I suppose, trying to find out what else could it be.
And so you eliminated everything, basically. Just need to find out what the truth is, and I just kept looking for the truth. When did it happen?
Maybe 2007 maybe.
2007.
Yeah.
Okay.
When did what happen? Like as in I remembered or?
This process of you were like trying to find out where does it come from.
Oh, that's after I found out. I had a feeling of who it was and stuff like that. Or I have a feeling. I met. Probably have to rewind a little bit before then. I was interested in the spiritual stuff and things, and I wanted to know about life and about the truth and about how it all started and where does it all go to, and it just seemed like pointless. So I was just investigating a lot, and I come across different, different people talking about that sort of stuff, but none of them had any resonation for me. Looked at different spirituality types of things, what they thought, and none of them had any sort of resonance to me. And then some friends come across and told me about a guy called John that was doing these groups at his place talking about stuff I said I'd probably be really interested in. So I went along to that and checked it out, and I was very interested because he's talking about all this stuff about the soul, and thought no one's ever explained this before. And he started talking about all the laws and how life operates by the laws, and I thought, well, that makes sense now. That makes sense of why this pain happens in the world and stuff like that. And so started learning about that and learning about, and I wanted to find out where he learned it all from. So I had a feeling I wasn't sure if it actually was coming from him. How do you know this stuff? Because no one else knows this stuff. So where's it come from? It's like I had also this belief too that the truth would be found in the unpopular theories. Like the popular theories, like religions, and people just resonate to them because they feel safe in it because it's popular. But I thought, well, none of that's ever happened. And I thought, I wonder if it's found in somewhere where it's not popular, where it's a bit of an off-the-shelf sort of thing. So that's what I thought this was a bit. I thought, well, it's really interesting and stuff, and just spent time going to those and learning a bit more about it. And I found out about this guy knew another guy that told him about it and stuff like that, or told him a lot about it. And so I wanted to meet this other guy, which is called AJ, and met up with him. So I didn't understand their angle. I thought, what are they trying to do? And thought, something's funny here, something's not quite right, I can't pick it. I was just suspicious, I suppose. And found out he was Jesus then too, like after a little while, found out this guy was saying he's Jesus, and thought, this is just all wrong. And thought I was in a cult and wanted to get away, and so just walked off and said not coming back. And I said, yeah, no worries. They weren't trying to hold me in there, so obviously it wasn't a cult. But my feelings were, how did they get involved in this? A dude says he's Jesus and stuff, far out. Like, that's wacko. And so I felt like I had just to walk away. Didn't feel right either. I felt like I had an obligation to all the other people that were there to know the truth. So I thought, I don't know what these people are up to, if they're trying to swindle these other people or preying on innocent people that are emotionally looking for answers and giving them this, even though the answers are good. But to call myself Jesus is a bit odd and stuff like that. And so I ended up ringing up and making a meeting with Jesus, or AJ, when he's back then. Caught up with him, and then we had a meeting. I'd suss him out about, like, knowing that people want to call themselves something else because of trauma things, but he told me a lot about his life. He's very open about it, honest. I thought, well, okay, he's not trying to get away from himself through this. I was asking, like, he's telling me about John, who was John the Baptist that become Apostle John. That's who doing the teachings at first. He's also returned.
He's also one of the 14.
Yeah, he's who I met first. Asking, like, because I found out he was reincarnated, then I found out about some other people from Canada that were and stuff like that, and going, what are these people like? They're all these biblical figures, and why are they all from the freaking Bible and stuff? I was thinking too, like, why isn't it people from different religious sects that would come along and stuff like and reincarnate so they could help those religious peoples discover the truth? And then he started telling me about the development of the soul and how it works, and those ones haven't actually developed because of their beliefs yet, whereas these other ones have. And the only way you can return is by this development, becoming at one with God and with your soulmate and stuff like that. And so it made logical sense to me. I was trying to go home and draw it all out, figure it all out. It's funny trying to find some other way, some other method it could be. And yeah, just fascinated by it, as in also like why. I didn't know what the truth was. I wanted to know why there's people calling themselves this for. So I just thought, I'll just let it go. I know this other stuff's all good, the information's good, and I'll just go with that and see what happens. Yeah. It used to bug me. They'd be at work, there's all these things that would be coming up all the time, and just about some of the things that have been told like about the truths and stuff, and I just felt like there's so much more. And I had a funny feeling that I wondered if like I seem to know a lot more. I seem to understand the stuff more than other people, or it seemed to really bother me more. And I started wondering, oh shit, I hope I'm not one of these people as well. And I didn't think much of it. And then when Jesus was there one other time, had dinner staying at a lady's place and invited me around for dinner there, which he did. We had dinner there and was just chatting to him after dinner about some dream I'd had once before, and something was very emotional, and he actually said to me, do you think that actually might have happened? Like might be a real life experience? And I just burst into tears and started sobbing. And when you can't see it coming and you can't stop it. And then after I just finished sobbing, he said, do you know who you are? And just said my name, Cornelius. It's a bit that funny sounding, because I'm still sobbing a bit, but
that's the moment where you were sobbing, you had this memory of Cornelius?
Yes, after I was sobbing, yeah.
Just at that moment.
Yeah, and that's how most of the memories have come since then too. It's not like you just remember something. It's not like all of a sudden you know something. It's a progressive thing. And it's like, you'll have it often be triggered emotionally, go and let whatever comes out, and you have memories usually after it happens of what the thing was about, not before. Yeah, not generally, but usually after. Yeah.
It's like you removed some block for the memory to come.
Yeah, just like for people in the first incarnation, it's the same process. Like when you got something that's happened that's traumatic and you get triggered and let the emotion come out, now that the memory can come out without the pain gets released from the memory. Now you remember, but you don't have the pain associated with it.
And so from this moment on, you kept experimenting, like...
That's when I started discovering, like, is there other methods? Could it be something else? And
that's at that moment.
Yeah, I just had to rewind to make that make sense to you, yeah.
And did you build trust in A.J. Miller being Jesus and John being we said at that moment, or you were still in...
I'm always in a little bit of doubt and stuff like that, and hoping it wouldn't be, and what do you do with it, and freaking out by it, and what's all this mean, and... but times that I was quite emotional, just a heap of love for him, and I could feel it. It's always felt it coming from him as well. And just no doubt. And memories have come, of course, of that, and then memories have come of the crucifixion that happened as well. So, of course, back then I didn't even know Cornelius, what that person was, how was that person involved in any of this, because these are all biblical figures. I didn't know Cornelius was anything to do with a Bible figure or anything.
So
I started learning all this afterwards. Yeah.
But at that moment, you had an experience with being Cornelius. That was just a soldier experience or something like that. What kind of experience you had? It was a war experience or something like that at that moment?
No, it was a little while after Jesus was there, and there was actually a medium that was there with us, and she was visiting from the UK. I was at my girlfriend's place, and he asked me if I'd want to try healing, and so I said, yeah, all right. Just on the bench and just pressing on the spot in my thigh there, just didn't do anything, just pressed on the spot there, and just things just started coming up emotionally, and then I started just going to just deep grief, and then terror, and started remembering my execution pretty much, and remembering things leading up to that, and there's a lot of lead up to that. There's like a lot of lead up to just being brought to Jerusalem from other campaigns I've been on. So like, I suppose there's different parts of the Roman army. There's a trop of Roman soldiers, like Romans that were actually crack troops really. They were hardened soldiers basically, that's what we were. And then in Jerusalem and Judea, there's just like auxiliary troops where they were taken from sort of like the local area and stuff like that. They weren't true Romans, and they weren't that good a fighting force. And there's some other stuff politically that's a bit long, so I won't go into that was happening at the time. And we got brought in just in case there was an uprising, because Pilate didn't want another uprising happening in Jerusalem, because it was going to mean his job pretty much. And so we got brought in there just as crowd control sort of thing, I suppose, back then. There was no particular reason, just as a bit of stuff going on.
Were you the boss? Like, were you the leader of this
Centurion, no, I was other people above me, generals and stuff like that, yeah. And so we're just pretty much there, not doing much really. So we just go, and when people always be talking, you know, people are orators standing on the street telling whatever they wanted to sort of talk about. But people were quite attracted to Jesus, so we'd often be going there because there's bigger crowds there, so we'd go where the crowds were to make sure nothing happened. And you'd just be standing there listening to him, and things would really hit, for me, it didn't with the other guys, it just hit my heart. Like things would just start stirring up inside of myself, and realising that, you know, all the things I've been told I am, I'm not. Like all this stuff, you know, the things I've done are not really who I am as well. And started like getting quite emotional about not letting any of the other guys see me, not even talking to them about it, and even like not saying anything, and just waiting till I got back, because I was a centurion, so I had my own space and times. I wasn't with other people, luckily then. And so I was there, got to have my own emotional little moments and not let anybody see them, not let anybody know I was affected by them. Yeah, and other experience, I got an opportunity to ask him some questions at one stage and just find out about him. He just seemed like a really good man and an honest man, and it was really rare, because from what I'd seen and where I was in my position in that time. But and he treated people very well too, wasn't afraid of people, wasn't afraid to tell the truth, and didn't care about the consequences of it. And he's steadfast, hold to his word. He reminded me of my dad a little bit in the first century too, I suppose. He's just had he had a lot of integrity, and so that probably brought up a few things too. And then just fast forward a bit to the when eventually all this stuff happened about the Sanhedrin wanting to get rid of him, pretty much because he's stirring up too much of a thing that they couldn't control. They couldn't control the people anymore. As much as I started asking questions about all the money they were giving and stuff like that, to what ends and why, and all that stuff, and things said in the Jewish, or what they were saying anyway, about religion and controlling the people via it. The people were feeling pretty pissed about that. So now they no longer had power, or losing power, and so they wanted to get rid of him. And it came to the point of crucifixion, which is pretty extreme for what was going on. And because they can't, because it's a Jewish province, a Roman controlled province, that we had Roman rule. So Roman rule meant Roman law, and Roman law meant we have to deal with the law, as in they can't dish it out. So we're in charge of doing that. Otherwise, they would have just executed him probably in their own way, or done whatever they wanted to do in their own way. And so we took control of that, or were asked to take control of that via Pilate, via them approaching Pilate about it. And so they just wanted him harmed, but they wanted more than just be harmed eventually. They served that out, and because Pilate was still afraid of this uprising going on, he just wanted to shut it down, so just do what the people freaking want and just get it over and done with, and then let everything get back to normal. That's pretty much the feeling. Yeah, but the feeling of me was, it was just all wrong. Everything was just wrong. And he'd done nothing to anybody, compared to what we've been doing, what I've been doing in my life. I was a person that needed executing, not them, for things I'd done, because I'd truly done something wrong. But he hadn't done any wrong to anybody. And, I got, all my guys I was in charge of taking them up and taking them to be crucified, and the point of actually causing him harm by nailing him was no way. I was going to do that. I just couldn't do it, so...
Why you were chosen?
Because I'm the leader. Well, that was where we were stationed for, and I was chosen to do that. My, century, I suppose, was asked to do that. Because I knew they'd get the job done too, and we were the crack troops that were there, not the auxiliary troops.
There were not also Centurion, or the guys that could have...
Other soldiers, yeah. They're just under me, so I've got to do it and lead them, so... Yeah, there was other guys dishing out all that other punishment prior to that. that wasn't stuff we did, or wasn't our particular thing, but
did they know you were listening to Jesus and the reason why they would choose you to?
No, that wasn't the punishment or anything like that, because I was trusted pretty much to do the job and get it done. But then, I walked, I didn't do it, and someone else had to finish it off, and pretty much...
You started it?
No, I couldn't do it. I'm looking in his eyes and he's still loving me while I'm trying to harm him, and there's just no way I could do it. And so, walked off, left, and then went and I knew it was going to be pretty much, that was the end of my life pretty much, because I just walked out on the Roman army in front of it as a leader.
You knew it.
Yeah. And then went into hiding for a little while, several days, but then they got me eventually too, and then it was an interesting moment for the Jews that were there too, because it's the first time probably they've ever had a chance, probably the only time ever they've had a chance to vent against the Romans and be allowed to.
The Roman would not protect you.
The Romans were wanting to just execute me, and I was dragged through into the main square, with all the Jews, getting all their anger out of it, being oppressed by the Romans all this time because they're allowed to, because the Romans were going to kill me, and the Romans were angry at me, so that meant the Jews could be angry at me. Everybody's just venting on one person pretty much. A lot of the Roman soldiers are angry at being Roman soldiers too, about the way they've been treated too, so they got to, and angry at their superiors, so they got to get angry at me. So there's a lot of them, plus all the spirits around them being directed at me, a lot of their anger. Yeah, and that then got publicly executed as a
traitor.
Yeah, a traitor from the Roman army or dissenter. But as an example to not only the Roman soldiers, this is what happens to one of our own if you choose to do this and not follow what you're told to do. But also as an example to the Jewish people as a power control as well. If we do this to one of our own, imagine what we're going to do to you. So it's an opportunity for Rome or people for Pilate and the Romans to take back control of the people in a way. There's a lot of things going on at once.
Is that common at that time that a Roman soldier would be executed on the main?
Not in public like that. That happened. Public? No, sometimes it happened during campaigns where there's either got beaten embarrassingly by some other mob of people. And you would have heard of decimation, wouldn't you? How they sometimes like in I was going to refer it to like a football team, but it won't. Where they'd have they'd all lined up and asked every 10th soldier to stand forward, and they'd be executed as a punishment just for not performing. Yeah, that's what decimation 10 is, deca. So they do that to their own people. So it's just to prove a point to their own soldiers to harden up, and this is going to happen to you from your own people. But that was never done publicly. It was done in the troops and stuff. Did
it happen to you as well?
Nothing I remember, no. Probably because we were pretty successful, I think. Most of our things. Otherwise, I would have been dead a long time earlier.
Were you also 6 feet tall, like your father?
Turned out exactly what they wanted. That's why it was hard for me to go and hide somewhere. I knew the country, knew everything too. I've been everywhere, so I know lots of places to hide, but it's hard to hide a 6 foot tall man amongst all these short people. Just kind of stand out everywhere. I couldn't even dress up as a woman.
Do you remember the Jesus teaching in the first century, and do you remember are they the same teaching you hear these days in your present reincarnation? Is it the same thing he was teaching at that time?
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah.
Yeah. Laws haven't changed.
No, nothing I've changed. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The laws are good like that. You can rely on them.
So would you consider yourself as a follower of Jesus in that time, like as a first Christian, or?
I don't know. There's I suppose to the point of acting out of love, maybe, like choosing to do the right thing despite the odds.
Yes.
Yeah. I suppose, like I was saying before, the true spirituality, the true thing is in your heart and your soul, and that's coming from the soul. You make a decision like that, yeah.
Which demonstrates you had love in your soul, basically.
Yeah. Which I must have known, or there must have been, I don't know why I knew that, but as in, there must have been something I knew that was still there that wasn't the truth of what everybody told me, like as in what the environment told me, what the Romans had told me, what they created me to be, the things I'd done. I knew there was still something good. Yeah. But I wasn't all those things that I was turned into be. I was just a kid originally.
Is there something else you wish to share about your first century life? Or?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Got any questions about it? Like
well, no.
In particular?
I mean, I think you share most of what's there. From the beginning to the end, and in between there were time of campaigns. Yeah. I think that's we get a pretty good.
The only last
idea.
part was after listening to Jesus and him talking about this kingdom of God and stuff like that, and when I did pass over, there was not a kingdom of God where I went to, so I was angry about that, so I sort of lost some faith, I suppose, that things would be okay. Like it sounds like the teachings seem like they're okay, but I learned a bit more about that obviously later, but